Hey guys, Lawrence here from Unicorn Bikes, and today we're testing Vittoria tires. I have the Motas which I'll put on the front and the Martellos that I'll put on the rear. And they're using the Graphene 2.0 technology, which Vittoria is really selling throughout their tire lineup, not just in mountain biking. So it's going to be interesting to see if they actually do run faster, if they are more puncture resistant, and most importantly, are they actually faster than other tires. So I'll be comparing these today to a DHF DHR Minion combo that I have on here. I'll be measuring actual width, I'll be measuring durometers, and I'm also going to do some timed comparisons here on the trails. So let's get riding. Don't worry, I'm not going to show you the entire tire swab, but we are going to do some measurements first. First, we're going to measure actual width. So this is a 2.5 inch wide DHR2, and the narrowest width comes in at 57 millimeters. The 2.6 inch wide DHF comes in at 58.5 millimeters. The sidewall on a DHF with a double down casing is 69.5. This is a 3C compound, and on the DHR the hardness of the sidewall is 75.5. Now let's clean a knob. The hardness of the knobs is 46 on the DHR and 47 on the DHF. So these are obviously the same rubber compounds, just a slightly different casing, because this is a downhill casing, this is a double down enduro sort of casing. Alright, so for a parking lot tire swap, this actually went really well. The front tire went on with just the hand pump, but I did have to use my tire booster to get the rear on. That's mostly because the rim is very badly damaged. I just pulled on the bead just with my hand. It was almost a perfect fit. The tires are pretty sticky because they're brand new tires, so they needed a bit of persuasion to get on the bead, but overall the installation was effortless. I would say though, because they are pretty sticky new, make sure you line up your logos before putting the bead on, because it'll be very hard to do that. So with all the technical stuff out of the way, let's talk about how these tires actually ride. First things I really noticed was that the Martello is great as a rear tire, especially on this hard, dry stuff. It's really fast rolling, but still grippy enough and predictable enough so you can easily tip the bike in and not have to worry about the rear getting away from you under hard braking while doing a little bit of turning, that sort of stuff. Now obviously the tire has plenty of traction for me climbing stuff as long as it is dry, but because the tread is pretty compact, you can actually load the tread or overload the tread, especially when it gets like muddy and you have the sort of sticky mud that just clogs up tires. The Motas are a lot better for that. However, in the video you see right now, I actually had the Motas in the front and the Martellos in the rear. And what I noticed is with a 2.6 inch Mota, because those are the size tires I'm testing, the Mota is a little bit vague in the front on dry stuff. I really noticed that on off-camber rooty bits, I was losing the front a little bit too easily. Part of that is of course due to my lack of skill, but it's also a little bit the tire. And the tire is incredibly grippy when you get it into muddy conditions, as you'll see later on in the video. But on this sort of dry stuff, I'm missing a little bit of grip there. However, that said, it was still slightly faster than my Maxxis control run, even though, you know, that could be down to just my riding. On a different trail, where we do definitely have that sort of off-camber first corner, that's where I kind of really noticed the Mota up front wasn't very good at dry stuff, and that's okay. Vittoria never says it's a dry tire. This is definitely a mud spike. Running the Martello in the front is a lot more predictable, more precise even, and it just feels better on dry conditions. So while you can definitely run the Martello in the rear all the time, you should really get a Martello for dry stuff in the front or a Mota for wet stuff in the front. That's kind of the way I felt about it. Running these somewhat smoother trails really gave me a chance to try the sidewall stiffness on these tires. And if you are going to compare this to Maxxis, which is what I've been running since forever really, I did definitely notice that this is more of a mix between a double down and an EXO Plus casing, not at all something like a downhill casing, even though these both
are dual ply tires that I've been testing. So it's a somewhat softer, more flexible sidewall. That can be positive in certain scenarios, but again, if you're really going to be hitting hard edges really fast over and over and over again, that's where you may want to use something like the AirLiner that I'll talk about later in the video, just to stiffen up that side of the tire a little bit. Now, on this control run, again, the times were very similar. I don't really expect the tire on a short track like this to really make a massive difference, but again, it was noticeable. And I would have to say the DHF that I'm used to running is more predictable than the Mota. Now, I also had, of course, runs where I put the Martello in front, as I said before, and I kind of prefer that, and I'm probably going to be running a Martello in the front for this year's racing season. However, I'm probably going to remove my AirLiner from the front and also run a single ply front Martello, because these tires are a little bit heavy and you definitely notice the weight when trying to pick up the front wheel, but also just when cornering, going in and out, of course, you definitely feel that rotational weight from the heavier dual ply tires, especially if you have the AirLiners in.
So I found the tire pressures that I was comfortable riding at, so let's measure these. First up, the Martello in the rear, which comes in at 61 millimeters wide, and the Mota in the front comes in at 59. So I said I like the Motas and the Martellos, but let's actually do a review on the AirLiner as well. I've been riding like this for 3 weeks now, and we're in some extremely horrible muddy conditions today. And I'm about 12 kilometers away from home. I don't have a backpack with me, but I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna take all the air out of the rear tire. So with the air out of the tire, you can see that the top section where the AirLiner is hollow is very easy to press in, but the sides actually retain a bit of strength. So I'm gonna go do the same downhill run I've been doing for 4 times now, just without air in the rear, and then hopefully the tire won't pop off the rim and I'll be able to inflate again with a simple hand pump and ride 12 kilometers home, and if not, I'll just have to walk. Okay, that was seriously impressive actually. Cornering grip stays pretty similar. I mean, obviously it is very muddy. All we're really losing is some braking traction because the top is just flat and stuck with mud. But let's get air back in, get back home.
With the AirLiner, installation was, how would I put this kindly? It was a nightmare the first time, and the second time already went a lot better. If you have any sort of experience installing tire inserts, you'll probably know that you have to really fold the tire under that insert to get it on the wheel. I really struggled with that because I didn't watch tutorials on how to do that, but please, there's a great tutorial up on the Burn Peak Express. It's about Cushcore, but it's exactly the same sort of fitting idea. The way you do it is the same. So fitting the AirLiner is doable. It's, I would say, easy, but not the first time you do it. The performance of it really blew my mind. I was able to just let all the air out and still go as fast as with air, mostly because it was incredibly muddy. I tried a similar thing on dry conditions. There you definitely notice there was no air in your rear tire, obviously, but it was still controllable, and I did not have the tire unbeat itself, so I could still easily pump it up with just a little hand pump. And to me, that's the whole reason I'm going to continue running the AirLiner in the rear. But because I hardly ever puncture in the front, I'm going to remove it from the front just for weight savings mostly. Alright. Alright, so to finish off this video on the, what is this one, the Mota, this is of course the dual ply and the equally heavy Martello dual ply. I was really impressed with them, and I will continue to run these tires on my Spectral for the rest of the season, but I'm probably going to be switching bikes as well, so who knows what tire I'm going to be racing on. However, I am going to switch to a single ply for the front, just because these things are heavy and I have weak little arms, so that's that. Anyway, if this video was at all helpful or interesting or enjoyable to watch, then please hit the like button and the subscribe button. And if there are any problems that I noticed later on with these tires, I'll put that in the card in the top right corner. But for now, thank you very much for watching this video. Also thanks to Vittoria for sending me these test tires, really appreciate it. I'm hoping I can do more stuff like this in the near future. But for now, again, massive thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.